Hey everybody, it's Ken. So tomorrow is the first of the month, and a lot of us are, thinking about the financial hardships that we have coming. And so what I wanted to do was just go over what I consider to be 6 things that all of us could be doing or looking at or should be looking at right now. These are 6 things that you should consider moving forward based on the uncertainty, because we all don't know, when the incomes are going to stop or if they're going to continue. And so these are 6 things I believe that we should all look at. The first thing is communication. So I've talked a little bit about this before, but what I mean by that is you should really be communicating with your lenders, your credit card folks, the auto loans, maybe you have student loans, insurance, even your utilities. You should be emailing, and you should be calling, and you should be doing everything that you can in writing to find out what they can do to work with you right now for any kind of financial hardship. And please make sure that you put this in writing. So in other words, you want a documentation that you sent them something. If you call them, then you want to send an email confirming your conversation with the person. So make sure you get their name, and you want to contact these folks, because what's happening right now is these companies, a lot of them are working with people. And so we're already hearing and seeing on a number of levels, where even at the mortgage level, where some of the lenders are working with landlords, and insurance companies are working with the insureds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the first thing is all around communication. So if you don't know, put together your list today. For your lenders, your credit cards, your auto loans, your insurance, your utilities, and anything else that you can think of, and start contacting those people now. You want to do that now, because there's going to be a lot of people doing this over the next 60 or 90 days, and you want to get out in front of it if you can. So that's the number one thing. The number 2 thing is you really need to dig down into your expenses. And we talk a little bit about this on one of the other videos, which is, the financial stress test. And we did a financial stress test individually, one on your business, and even one on your real estate. And so, but you really, really need to take a look at the minimum things that you need. And if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the food, shelter, and sleep are number 1. Health and security are number 2, and then loving and belonging is number 3. And all of a sudden, when you start to look at those things, and I believe those to be true, a lot of these other things, can be eliminated. And so I'm going to walk through some of the ideas that we're hearing from some of the emails from some of our subscribers. One is, start to take a look at using coupons. And there's all kinds of coupons out there for food and for things that you like to do. And, for a lot of people, they don't do that. And as you know, there's other people that do that all the time. And so that's just one easy thing that you can do. You can look on the internet for things and for discount codes and for coupons. The other one is that a lot of people are doing is they're starting gardens, and they're out buying seeds, and they're out learning how to garden, and you can do all this online, and you can grow a lot of your own food. That's something that's really, really quite simple. One of the things we did in the company is we evaluated our entire cell phone plan. And you can do that individually too. As you guys know, there's always these cell phone companies that are always looking to, upgrade your phone and lock you into something long. Well, I can tell you right now, everybody's scrambling. So you can find some really, really good cell phone deals out there and internet deals. If you've been on some kind of plan for a long, long time, you really need to dust that off. We're hearing that people are selling their cars and they're moving to public transportation. In a lot of areas, public transportation has slowed down or even stopped. So it may or may not even be an option for you. But in some areas, it's still out there. And, selling a car, the car payment, the maintenance, the insurance, and all the things that come with that is definitely something that you could potentially do, or give it back to the dealer if you're not upside down on it. That's one example. On the utility side, we're seeing things like people are installing programmable thermostats as one example. They're putting in timers and power strips on the lighting. They're lowering the water the temperature on their water heaters. They're putting in LED light bulbs, and then if you have any kind of watering system or whatever, they're either minimizing it almost to zero or cutting it completely down. So there's lots of little ways that you can do conservation around the utilities. It's a great time to look at that. If you have any kinds of insurances, either health or auto or whatever it might be, I can tell you that a lot of these health companies are talking to you, and there are ways that you can raise deductibles, for example, and we do that all the time. So if we have we get a bid on insurance from a property, and it's too high, we say, well, okay, let's take a look at it with higher deductibles. Basically, you're self-insuring up to a certain point, but it lowers your premium because it takes less risk from the insurance company. So I'm not advocating that you eliminate your insurance, but there are lots of ways you should dig into your coverage, and you should dig into your deductibles, and you should take a look at what you're paying for that you don't necessarily need. I've definitely I've done that before, where I was like, well, I don't need this inside of my insurance policy. And they're small amounts, but they add up over time. And so you should be digging into that. The other one is you might want to just take a look at moving into a less expensive option, whatever that might be. Now, that could be, doubling up. That could be tripling up. That could be moving to a different part of town. It could be whatever it might be. But these are all very, very good ways to take a look at some of your expenses as you guys start to navigate some of this. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was the third one is restructuring debt. And as you guys start to look at your debt, whatever it might be, a lot of things are, people go in and they buy stuff and they finance them all the time. It could be a computer, it could be a home, it could be a car, it could be all kinds of things, a boat. Those are opportunities to pull those documents out and take a look at your interest rates, and take a look at whether or not you even need them, and take a look at whether you should or shouldn't even default on them. Because obviously the one thing that you definitely need is a home. And so if you're renting or buying, you have to figure out, how do you stay there, and how do you restructure some of that debt. Now, one of the things that I've seen people do during this time is they take high-priced credit card debt, and they find a credit card that's maybe offering it at a significantly lower price, and they can move their balances over, as an example. I know during the holidays, I haven't gotten a credit card in years and years and years and years. But what Prime, was offering a not only a 0% credit card, but they were offering $500 just to sign up. So I got one, and then I never used it again. So I got $500 credit on Amazon, and then I basically cut it up after I paid whatever I bought it on. So I bought like $900 worth of stuff, and they credited $500, and then it ended up costing me $400, and then I basically threw it away. So there are ways that you can go out and transfer credit card debt and to another one, and or look for other low cost cards. Because here's the deal, guys: money's money. The credit card company doesn't care who you are. They just look at the number that you're paying on a percentage. So why would you care? Why would you care if it's your bank or somebody else? Because the only thing that matters is how much they're charging you for that. So if you can take a credit card debt from, say, 20% down to 5%, that 15% is massive, especially if you got 10 grand that you owe. That's $100 a month that you can save right there just by moving around some credit card debt. So you should be considering that for sure. This seems rather obvious, but you should take a look at whether you can sell any unused items that you might have. What we just went through was a period of time where a lot of people were just buying a lot of stuff. They were consuming, and people have garages full of stuff, people have closets full of stuff, and people have cupboards full of stuff that maybe you just don't need, and maybe you can sell whether it's through a garage sale or just through eBay or some other source, you should take a look at getting rid of as many things as you can right now just to generate some cash. Yesterday, I went to the grocery store and there was a bar/restaurant that has a little boutique. And so I stopped in because I knew the owner. And she told me that she sold $3,800 worth of stuff by just putting it out on the sidewalk. And so I said, "Good for you." She's like, "Yeah, I got to cover my rent, and I don't have any customers right now." So people are getting super creative on what they can do, and that's just one example. The other thing that you might want to think about, I taught my kids how to do this a long time ago, and that's barter. Now, if you really go back and take a look at back in the day when currency was created, all that, bartering was a massively big thing. Now, the government doesn't like it because they don't get their pound of flesh. They don't get their tax. But I taught my kids how to do this. And so my son got some tires for his car by starting off with a game that he sold, which was, I think it was an old Nintendo game, and he just kept trading and bartering. And if you want to take a look at an incredible video, take a look at the red paperclip video, where literally they walk you through, starting with a red paperclip, the guy ended up buying a house, literally. And so there's ways that you could take things and barter for other things so you don't have to actually use cash. So that's a big one. And it's hard to wrap your head around this, but barter's a big, big, big deal. And people that own small businesses do this all the time. In other words, if somebody has let's say a hair salon, they might be working with the person that has a hardware store or even a lawn service, and they get their lawn cut for free, but they do their hair for free. So those are the kinds of things that people do all the time, guys. And so that's just basically bartering. So you should be taking a look at that for sure. The next one is looking for a part-time job. Now, this is really hard right now. Obviously, there were a little over 3 million people that just filed for unemployment last week. And of course, this is going to get higher and higher and harder. It's getting harder, harder, harder. But there are lots of businesses right now that are also expanding. Obviously, the most obvious is healthcare. The most obvious is Amazon. But there are others, guys. I'm telling you right now, there are other kinds of businesses that you can go out where they're just exploding based on demand, like delivery drivers for Amazon, as everyone's staying home and getting stuff. So there are things that you can do with just a little bit of action, and trust me, you're going to get super frustrated. They're probably not easy jobs to get, but it's just, you need to kind of take action and just start doing things. And the sixth thing is around mindset. And this is probably one of the hardest ones for a lot of people right now. So one of my favorite books is called Mindset. And basically it says that there's two kinds of mindsets. There's fixed and there's growth. And so what happens a lot of time is, you're either in one category or another. And I could tell you from my own personal experience, my mom for years and years and years would say, we can't afford that, for example. And it was true. She absolutely positively could not, and we could not afford that. But for whatever reason, as a kid, I was like, well, I understand that, but how come all these other people can afford something? As a kid, I couldn't quite understand. I understood my mom and I understood our financial situation. We definitely could not afford something. But once I wrapped my head around how can I afford it, it got so much better. And there are 4 steps that you can do to kind of get you out of what I would consider to be a fixed mindset. Because I know a lot of us are in big, big pain right now. When we're in big shock and we're in big denial, a lot of us are trying to figure out how to get out of this together. The first one is you need to learn how to hear your fixed mindset voice. So that's the number one thing. So in other words, as somebody says to you, why don't you go get a job? If your first thing is, well, I can't get a job. I don't know where am I going to get a job? I don't know how to do that. Though that's called a fixed mindset. Once you recognize that and you actually hear it yourself and you realize what you're saying, it's the number one thing in order to switch it over to some kind of a growth mindset. And then the second thing is once you do that, once you're aware of what your little voice is saying, then now you're recognizing that you actually have a choice. You're saying, oh, well, that's me. That's me saying something internally. Maybe I'm not saying outside, but you're recognizing that you do have a choice. And then you need to talk back with a growth mindset. In other words, well, maybe I will try that. Maybe, what's a great way to look? What have you seen? Who's hiring? That's a growth mindset. Whether it works or not is a different thing. But it goes from immediately a negative mindset to now replacing it with a growth mindset. And then, of course, the fourth thing around mindset is just taking action, because all that stuff can happen in the span of 30 seconds. It can happen just like that. In other words, you're like, immediately go negative and people immediately pull back right now. That's what people are doing. They're pulling back. You're going to see a lot of alcoholism. You're going to see a lot of drug addiction. You're going to see a lot of divorces. You're going to see all this stuff. And a lot of this can be reversed by just stepping back, taking a look, and hearing your fixed mindset voice and trying to replace it with a growth mindset voice and taking action. And that's what I'm hoping for you guys this week as we start to navigate what's going to happen to us on Wednesday, which is the 1st of April, and all our bills are due. So good luck to you guys. I hope that you learned something here, and please keep your emails and your texts and your DMs coming in, because we are definitely incorporating them into the videos. So thank you guys again, and we'll talk soon. And for those of you who want to know about the financial stress test that I talked about here, there's a link below. Just click on that. You can download it. It's free, and it'll just give you some basic guidelines. We also have a video for that if you want to take a look at that. So good luck out there, guys.